In the summer of 2001, long before the headlines, long before the accusations, long before the world turned its back on him, Michael Jackson tried one last time to speak the truth. He knew something was coming. Something dark. Something powerful. Something that would destroy the way the world saw him. On a night filled with cameras and screaming fans, the night of his 30th anniversary celebration in New York, Michael made a confession hidden in plain sight. He warned the audience. He warned the industry. He warned everyone. But no one listened. And months later, the consequences arrived, just as he said they would. Tonight, we reveal the message Michael Jackson tried desperately to share in 2001, and why the world refused to believe him until it was too late. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss our emotional stories about Michael Jackson. Your support helps keep his legacy alive. New York City, July 2001. The iconic Madison Square Garden glimmered under summer night skies, preparing for an event fans believed will be pure celebration. Michael Jackson's triumphant return to the stage after years of silence. People wore sequin jackets and single white gloves, chanting his name as they waited to see their hero again. Inside a private dressing room far beneath the arena lights, Michael sat still, elbows resting on his knees, staring at his own reflection. But it didn't feel like him staring back. His breathing was uneven. His heart raced, not from excitement, but from a rising dread that had been building for years. There was something he was desperate to say, something the world needed to hear, something he feared would destroy him if he kept locked inside much longer. But who would believe him? A knock at the door brought him back. Karen Fay, his longtime makeup artist, peeked her head inside with a gentle smile. "Mike, you ready for a little magic?" she asked softly. He tried to smile back, but his lips barely moved. "I don't feel like magic tonight," he said quietly. Karen walked in fully and closed the door behind her, concern shadowing her face. "You've never said that before." Michael looked up at her, those deep, expressive eyes carrying the exhaustion of a man who had lived 100 lives inside one. "I'm tired of pretending everything is okay," he murmured. "I'm tired of smiling while things fall apart around me." Karen paused, makeup brush suspended in her hand. "Michael, is this about the show? About the pressure?" Michael shook his head. "It's bigger than the show." He stood and walked toward a framed tour poster on the wall, gently touching his own younger face printed on it, full of hope and power. "They think I'm back tonight just to sing and dance like before," he said. "But I need to say something. I need to tell them what's really happening." Karen's eyes softened. "Then tell me first." Michael closed his eyes tightly, struggling with how much truth he could release, how much weight he could share. "They're trying to control everything," he whispered. "My music, my legacy, my life. They think they can silence me forever." "Who is they?" Karen asked cautiously. Michael's voice trembled. "The people who own everything. The ones behind the curtain. The ones the world never sees. They don't care about my art or my family or me. They only care about power." Karen placed a hand on his shoulder. "Michael, you've said people were trying to use you before, but you've always risen above it." He turned to her, eyes filled with a haunting clarity. "No, Karen," he said. "Not like this. This time they want to erase me." A chill ran through her. She opened her mouth to speak, but a sharp knock cut her off. "Mr. Jackson," a production assistant called through the door. 5 minutes. Michael straightened, breathing shakily. Karen tried again, her voice barely a whisper. "If you want to share something with the world tonight, I'll be right beside you." Michael nodded slowly, but he wasn't sure he would truly be heard. When he stepped onto the stage, the roar shook the very air. Flashing cameras, screaming fans, thunderous applause, the kind of adoration only Michael Jackson could summon. The energy surged through him like electricity, reminding him that he still mattered, still inspired, still ruled the stage. He began with "Wanna Be Starting Something," igniting the arena into a frenzy. His dance moves, precise, fluid, otherworldly, proved he was still the king. For a moment, the fear faded, replaced by the power of performance, the comfort of music. But as the crowd continued to scream his name, Michael's expression shifted. Just slightly, just enough to reveal something more beneath the surface. This wasn't just a show. This was his warning. Before the next song, he stepped to the microphone and inhaled deeply. He looked across the sea of lights, hoping they would listen, truly listen. He leaned in, voice steady but filled with urgency. You know, people think they know everything about my life, but there are things happen behind the scenes, things that aren't right. The crowd quieted, not fully, but enough that curiosity flickered in thousands of eyes. Michael continued, heart pounding. I've been fighting battles most people don't see. Battles for the music. Battles for the truth. Sometimes I wonder if anyone will still be there when I finally tell them everything. Some fans cheered, thinking he was being poetic. Others looked confused. Michael clenched the mic tighter. Don't ever let anyone take your voice or your soul. There are forces, very powerful forces, that don't want the truth to come out. Karen stood off stage, breath held. She could see the tremor in his hands. The courage it took for him just to say that much. He looked as though he could say more, so much more. But then, a red light from the camera platform blinked twice. Time's up. Michael's fear returned in a sudden wave. He swallowed his words, forced a smile, and the music immediately blasted into the speakers, cutting him off. The show continued, but the weight inside him remained. He had tried to warn them. He had tried to speak. But would anyone believe him? As he moonwalked under the blinding spotlights, one question pressed harder and harder against his heart. If he told the world the full truth, who would listen? The air inside the dim backstage hallway of Madison Square Garden was thick with anticipation and nerves. Dozens of crew members rushed past, headsets buzzing, lights being tested, stage managers shouting countdowns. The concert to celebrate Michael Jackson's 30 years as a solo artist would begin in less than an hour. One of the biggest moments of his career. Cameras everywhere. Fans from all over the world. History being written in real time. But while the world focused on the celebration outside, something very different was happening behind the curtains. Michael Jackson sat alone in a private dressing room, far away from a noise. His elbows rested on his knees, his hands intertwined tightly as if he were holding himself together. His eyes, still full of fire when he performed, carried exhaustion, fear, and a silent urgency he didn't yet know how to express. Earlier that day, he had received a phone call that changed everything. A warning, a secret, a truth he wasn't supposed to know. And now, someone else knew that he knew. A quiet knock tapped the door. Michael tensed. "Come in," he murmured. The door opened and a familiar face peeked in, one of his most trusted bodyguards, Javon Beard. "Mike," Javon said carefully, "there's a man asking to speak with you. Says it's about what you found out." Michael's breath caught. His heart began racing again. How did he even get backstage? Michael whispered harshly. Javon stepped inside and shut the door behind him. He showed some kind of credentials, something from the label, but he didn't look like the music industry. Michael swallowed. So they already sent someone. Javon studied him carefully. "What is going on, Mike? You've been nervous since this morning. Did someone threaten you?" Michael looked up at his friend. Really looked. His voice trembled. "I think they're trying to silence me." Javon blinked in disbelief. "Who?" Michael hesitated, speaking barely above a breath. "The people who control everything. The ones who own music. The ones who own me." Without waiting for more explanation, Javon shook his head. "You're not talking to that man alone. I'll be right there with you." Before Michael could respond, another knock sounded, more assertive this time. Javon opened the door only a crack, blocking the view of Michael. A tall, sharply dressed man in a dark suit stood on the other side. He carried a black binder and smiled with a polished confidence that felt more threatening than comforting. "Mr. Jackson," he said, not even acknowledging Javon. "I was told you had concerns. I'm here to solve them." Michael stood slowly from the chair, his shoulders tense. "What do you want from me?" he asked. The man stepped inside without being invited. "Not from you." "For you," he replied smoothly. "We want to make sure tonight goes perfectly, and that you're public remarks don't distract from the celebration. Michael's breath became unsteady. So that's why he was here. They were already trying to shut him up. The man placed a binder on the table and flipped it open, revealing contract pages and press statements already prepared. No statements about business issues, he said calmly. No accusations. No interviews. No unexpected truths. The public wants magic tonight, not drama. Michael's jaw tightened. What if the truth is the magic? The man's smile faded. The truth, he said, leaning in, is dangerous. He tapped the binder. This is the safest path for everyone involved. Javon stepped forward. Is that a threat? The man didn't even blink. It's protection. Michael forced himself to breathe. Protection from who? The man straightened his suit jacket. From yourself, Mr. Jackson. A chill ran down Michael's spine. This man wasn't trying to intimidate him. He was warning him, calmly, confidently, as if everything had already been decided, as if Michael's voice no longer belonged to him. You have two options, the man continued. Perform, smile, say nothing. And the second? Michael asked. The man closed the binder slowly. You don't get a second option. Michael stepped back, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. You can't take away my voice, he whispered. The man leaned close enough that Michael could feel his breath. We already have. He turned to leave, pausing in the doorway. Oh, and one more thing, he added casually. Your family's safety depends on you making the right choice tonight. I trust we understand one another. Javon stepped forward aggressively, but Michael grabbed his arm, stopping him. The man left without another word. Silence smothered the room. Javon looked at Michael, stunned. Mike, what did he just say? Michael took a staggering breath, fighting the fear rising in his chest. They won't let me warn the world, he whispered. They'll destroy me if I try. Javon clenched his fists. So, what do you want to do? Michael stared at his reflection in the mirror. Bright costume, stage makeup, legendary aura. But the man in the reflection wasn't the king of pop. He was a prisoner in a golden cage. I'm still going to speak, he murmured. Javon's eyes widened. What are you planning? Michael looked toward the stage entrance. Head held high, eyes newly determined. Tonight, I tell everyone, even if it's the last thing I do. And somewhere outside the door, someone was listening. Michael sat alone in his hotel suite, the soft glow of city lights flickering against the glass walls like restless stars. The concert at Madison Square Garden was supposed to be a celebration, a triumphant return, a reminder that he was still the greatest performer alive. The media called it a historic comeback. Fans called it the return of the king. But behind the curtain, Michael was struggling to breathe. His voice still echoed from the stage, but the thrill had been replaced by a hollow ache in his chest, one that fame had taught him to hide. He leaned forward on the couch, elbows on his knees, trembling slightly as he tried to ground himself. The compliments, the fireworks, the cheers of thousands, none of it mattered if he wasn't safe. He reached for the phone beside him and dialed a number he rarely used anymore. His hand shook so badly he nearly dropped the receiver. The call connected. Mike? A calm voice answered. It's late. You good? It was Randy, his brother. Michael swallowed hard. Can you come up? Randy didn't ask questions. He heard everything Michael didn't say. I'm on my way. Michael hung up and stared at his reflection in the glass. The city outside looked alive, unstoppable. Inside the room, he looked like a ghost, the man behind the mask the world worshipped, exhausted and breaking. He whispered to himself, They don't listen. They never listen. A knock. Michael opened the door quickly, almost too quickly, desperate for someone familiar, someone he trusted. Randy walked in and immediately scanned Michael's face. What's going on, Mike? Michael shut the door, locked it, then leaned his forehead against the wood. They're here, he whispered. Randy frowned. Who? The ones who want to control me, Michael said, turning with panic rising in his eyes. They want the music, the deals. They want ownership. They want me. Randy stepped closer. Slow down. Who are you talking about? Michael lowered his voice. The companies, the lawyers, the labels, they pretend to support me. But they own the game, and I'm trapped inside it. Randy listened, expression tightening. This wasn't the first time he heard his brother talk like this. But tonight, it sounded different, urgent, desperate. I went up there tonight to tell the truth. Michael said, pacing. I wanted the world to know what's happening. That they're using me, draining me. I wanted to expose them. He stopped pacing. I saw the way they looked at me when I spoke. They think I'm losing my mind. Randy put a steady hand on Michael's shoulder. You're not crazy. You're stressed. You're tired. I'm scared, Michael whispered, voice breaking. 2 simple words. Words he rarely allowed himself to say. Randy's expression softened. Mike, talk to me. Michael ran a hand through his curls, pacing again. I can feel them closing in. Every contract, every negotiation. There's something hidden. Something they want me to sign. They're rushing me. They want this comeback more than I do. Randy stepped in front of him. So what do you want? Michael stopped. The answer came with painful honesty. Freedom. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Randy nodded slowly. Then we fight for it. Michael shook his head. You don't understand. They're powerful. And when people go against them... He paused. Bad things happen. Randy swallowed, feeling a chill creep up his spine. What did they threaten you with? Michael walked to the window again, staring down at the indifferent city. They said if I make noise, if I expose anything, my career ends. He laughed under his breath, a hollow sound, as if that's the worst thing they can take. Randy didn't like the tone behind those words. Michael continued, voice fading into fear. They told me I don't control my own life, that they can reach anyone around me, anyone I love. He closed his eyes, and I believe them. Randy's hands curled into fists. We'll handle it. We'll go public. We'll get lawyers. Michael shook his head. No one will believe me, not until it's too late. He turned, eyes glassy, heartbroken. When I needed help before, they used my vulnerability against me. The press, the courts, everyone. And now, Randy asked. Michael stared at him with a look that could shatter glass. Now they want to finish what they started. A crash echoed from the hallway outside. A cart hitting a wall? A dropped tray? Michael flinched violently, stepping backward like the sound had struck him physically. They're watching, he whispered. Randy turned toward the door, jaw tight. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you. Michael breathed through his shaking, forcing himself to sit again, gripping the armrest like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. I'm trying to warn everyone, he whispered, but I'm running out of time. Randy sat beside him and looked him directly in the eyes. Then tell me everything, he said. Right now. Michael opened his mouth. Ray confessed the truth he had been carrying alone for too long. But before a single word left his lips, the phone rang. Both brothers froze. Michael stared at the blinking red light, dread flooding through him. He whispered, They already know. The sun dipped behind the skyscrapers of New York City, casting long shadows over the arena that was still vibrating from the thunderous celebration hours earlier. Michael sat alone in his VIP dressing room, the echo of thousands of fans chanting his name still ringing in his ears. It should have been the greatest night of his life. It wasn't. The celebration of his 30th anniversary, a tribute to his extraordinary career, had ended. The world had bowed before him. Legends stood beside him on stage. It was the kind of tribute that most artists could only dream about. Yet inside Michael Jackson's chest, a storm raged. He wasn't thinking about applause, or achievements, or records broken. He was thinking about what he had tried to say, what he had risked everything to reveal, and how the world still refused to listen. Across from him, the large mirror reflected a man the world called a king, but whose soul felt cornered and small. His eyeliner was smudged, a reminder of the tears he didn't want anyone to see. He whispered to himself, replaying his own desperate plea from stage. They're trying to control me, to destroy me, to silence my vision. He had spoken boldly. He had spoken publicly. He had spoken the truth, or at least his truth. But afterwards, silence. Worse, dismissal. Assumptions. Ridicule. People calling him dramatic, paranoid, crazy. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. His breathing grew uneven as the walls of the dressing room seemed to fold inward, squeezing him into a tighter space. A knock rattled the door. "Michael? You good?" It was a production assistant. A friendly voice. Someone trying to sound casual. Michael wiped his face with his sleeve and forced his voice steady. "I'm fine. Thank you." But he wasn't fine. When the assistant walked away, the silence returned, heavier than before. A sound buzzed on the coffee table. Michael's phone. He stared at it, afraid to pick it up, afraid of what he'd hear, afraid of who might be on the other end. Finally, he grabbed it. Catherine, his mother. He answered immediately. Her voice came through, soft but strong, a comfort he had needed all night. "Michael, baby, I saw what you said on stage." His eyes closed, a tear escaping. "Did I do the wrong thing?" he whispered. There was a pause, not hesitation, but a mother's heartbreak that words couldn't hide. "No," she said, "but not everyone wants the truth, Michael." Michael swallowed hard. The world deserves to know. They need to understand what's happening. They have to. She interrupted gently. "Not tonight. There's a time for every truth. And some truths the world must be ready for." Michael's hands shook. But what if that time never comes? Catherine let out a slow, emotional breath. "Then you keep protecting what you love anyway." Those words pierced him, because protecting what he loved was getting harder every day. "I feel alone, Mother," he confessed in a whisper. "Even in a stadium full of people, even with millions chanting my name." His voice cracked. "No one heard me." Catherine didn't rush to respond. She let his feelings hang in the air, valid and raw. "You were heard," she finally said, "not by everyone, but by the ones who truly see you. And that will matter more than you know." Michael wiped his cheek with the back of his hand. "I feel like there are walls around me," he continued, voice trembling. "Walls built out of lies, out of fear, and every time I try to break through, they only get stronger." Catherine's heart ached through the phone. "You are stronger still." Michael's gaze drifted to the window where distant city lights twinkled like tiny promises. "Am I?" "Yes," she answered firmly. "Because you keep fighting, even when they pretend not to hear you." He took a shaky breath. Behind the door, laughter echoed faintly. Team members and guests celebrating the legendary night, unaware of or blind to the war inside him. What if the people doing this win? Michael whispered. Catherine didn't flinch. "They won't. Not if you stay true to who you are." Michael looked at the stage wristband still around his arm. Glitter from the show still clung to his clothes. "I'm so tired, Mother," he confessed, pain filling every syllable. "Sometimes I wonder if I should just stop fighting. Listen to me." Her voice sharp and gentle, but full of fire. "Your voice is your power. Your heart is your strength. They can try to silence you, but they cannot erase you." Michael pressed the phone harder against his ear, clinging to her words. "Promise me something," Catherine said softly. "What?" "Promise me you won't give up." He hesitated, because the weight of what he carried felt unbearable. But finally, after a long silence, he whispered, "I promise." As they said goodnight, Michael remained sitting in the dark, a single tear rolling down his cheek. Outside the arena, thousands of fans still screamed his name. But inside, only Catherine had heard his cry for help. Only she believed him. Only she saw the man behind the legend. And as the night deepened, a question lingered, heavy and haunting. What if Michael was right? What if what he warned the world about was only the beginning? Michael's voice shook as he held the old VHS tape in his trembling hands. The room felt colder now, not because of the AC humming above them, but because of what this tape represented. Proof, evidence, the kind of truth that could topple reputations, expose exploitation, and reveal the one thing the industry never wanted the public to see. Michael Jackson was not only the star, he was the victim. Frank Dillio's expression hardened. Michael, are you sure you wanted to watch this? Michael nodded slowly. I didn't know what to do back then. I didn't know who to trust. I was a kid. He swallowed hard. And sometimes, I still feel like that scared little boy. Frank placed the tape into the player. The screen flickered to life, distorted for a brief second, then stabilized. Michael looked away. He couldn't watch himself like this. On screen was a young Michael during his early teen years. Quiet, stiff, eyes darting nervously to the people behind the camera. Off-screen voices demanded a smile, demanded perfection, demanded more. The tone wasn't loving. It wasn't guiding. It was cold, familiar. He winced as he heard his father's voice bark an order. The cameraman zoomed too close to Michael's face. His discomfort was unmistakable. You could tell, Frank whispered. He was terrified. Michael pressed a hand to his eyes, as if blocking out the memories might silence them. The video continued. The voices got louder. The pressure intensified. The camera didn't stop, even when Michael's smile collapsed. Frank paused the video, unable to watch more. That's enough, he said firmly. Michael shook his head. That's just the beginning. He picked up the remote and pressed play. The screen cut to later footage. Michael slightly older now, somewhere backstage in an award show. People swarmed around him, pulling, adjusting, shouting instructions. His father stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching him like a hawk. The crowd's noise was overwhelming. Young Michael looked directly into the camera just for a second, and his eyes silently begged. Help me. Michael's real-life voice broke as he whispered. They never saw the cost. They never wanted to. Frank exhaled deeply, shaken. Michael, people need to know what you lived through. Michael's head snapped toward him. Fear flashed through his eyes. That's exactly what they don't want, he said. I tried speaking out in 2001. I told them the industry was dangerous, controlling, abusive. He looked away again, and they called me crazy. Frank sat beside him. The public only sees the stage lights, not what's hidden behind them. That's why I held on to this tape, Michael said. One day, I thought it could protect me. His voice cracked. But now it feels like something that could get me killed. A sudden beat made Michael flinch. A text message. He hesitated before checking the phone. Stop digging into the past. We warned you. Unknown number. Michael stared, throat closing, breath sharp. Frank grabbed the phone. Who sent this? Michael shook his head. I've been getting messages like that for weeks. Calls with no voice. Cars following mine. People watching. And after I spoke out in 2001, it only got worse. Frank put a hand on Michael's shoulder. We take this to your lawyers. We go public. No, Michael said abruptly. That's what they want. They want me scared enough to react. Then they can paint me as paranoid. He rubbed his arms like he was freezing. They own the media. Every headline. Every whisper. Every lie. Frank's frustration grew. Then what do we do? Michael closed his eyes, tears escaping. I don't know. I really don't know. Frank leaned forward. Michael, tell me what you're afraid of most. Michael swallowed hard before answering. That I'll disappear, and they'll turn me into a story that doesn't match the truth. Frank's silence proved he shared that fear. The tape continued playing softly. Young Michael forced a smile for the sake of the world. But now, older Michael's shoulders shook as he watched the ghost of a boy who had been consumed by fame too early. Frank turned off the TV. Enough pain for tonight. Michael looked up, desperation in his eyes. Frank, promise me something. Anything. If something happens to me, if they finally silence me, promise me you'll show the world this tape. Frank swallowed hard. Michael, don't talk like... Promise me, Michael insisted, voice trembling with urgency. The truth can't stay buried forever. Frank nodded slowly. I promise. Michael leaned back against the couch, exhausted, scared, and somehow relieved that one other person now carried a piece of his truth. But the moment the promise left Frank's mouth, a noise echoed from outside. A heavy knock. Firm. Authoritative. Not friendly. Michael jumped up, panic flooding his veins. "They found me." Frank moved toward the window, peeking through the blinds. A black SUV sat outside, engine running, windows tinted. No one stepped out. Frank whispered, "Who the hell is that?" Michael backed away, tears on his cheeks. "It's starting again." Frank reached into his jacket for his phone. "We're calling the police." Michael shook his head violently. "The police don't protect me from them." Outside, another knock. Louder. "You can't hide forever, Michael." A deep voice called through the door. "We need to talk." Frank's eyes widened. "They know your name." Michael's entire body went numb. He had tried to warn the world in 2001. Now the world didn't want him to speak anymore. The knock came again, earth-shaking this time. Frank whispered, "Michael, get behind me." Michael stepped backward slowly, knowing the truth he carried could either save him or destroy him. The backstage room was still vibrating with the energy of the night. The crowd's echo, that overwhelming tidal wave of love and expectation, lingered like electricity under Michael's skin. But now, behind a locked door and away from 1,000 eyes, the silence returned, and with it, fear. He sank onto a leather sofa, chest rising unevenly, sweat cooling too quickly against his skin. Kenny Ortega stood across the room, watching him closely. "Michael," he said calmly, though concern cracked through every word, "you shouldn't be performing if your heart is somewhere else." Michael's hands trembled as he pressed them flat against his knees. "That's the problem, Kenny. My heart isn't somewhere else. It's right here, begging me to say what I know." He lifted his head. His eyes, normally full of joy when the fans were near, were tight with frustration and exhaustion. "They think I'm afraid of failure," Michael continued, voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm afraid of something much bigger. I've seen things, heard things, and the world isn't ready to believe me." Kenny sat beside him. "Then don't carry it alone. Tell me." Michael swallowed hard, the weight of his secret pressing like a stone inside his ribcage. "I tried," he said. "I tried to warn everyone in 2001, at the Sony protest, at the speech, but I didn't say everything. If I had," he shook his head, burying his face in his hands, "they would have called me crazy." Kenny frowned. "Warn them about what?" Michael leaned back, finally letting the truth slip out in pieces, like glass he was afraid to hold. "People pretending to help the world, people who profit from fear, from control." His voice cracked. "When someone becomes too big to silence, they don't celebrate him. They break him." Kenny's heart dropped. He understood more than Michael realized. "That's why they push me to exhaustion," Michael whispered. "Why they leak lies to the press. Why every time I get back up, they push harder." His eyes glistened. "I'm not paranoid. I'm a target." For a moment, neither man spoke. Then Kenny placed a hand lightly on Michael's shoulder. "So you tell the truth. You shine brighter. That's who you are." Michael smiled weakly, grateful, but unconvinced. He stood slowly and walked toward the window, gazing out to see a fan still gathered outside, holding signs, chanting his name. They looked tiny from up here, fragile little flames flickering against the darkness. "They love me," he said softly, "but they don't know me. They know my music, my moves, my magic, but not me." He pressed his palm to the glass. "I wish I could tell them everything. But the moment I open my mouth," he exhaled heavily, "people twist it. They twist me." A knock at the door startled them both. Kenny froze. "Are you expecting someone?" Michael shook his head. The knock came again. Slow, firm, impatient. Kenny rose immediately and approached the door, cracking it open just a few inches. One of the production managers stood there, expression stiff, rehearsed. "It's time," he said curtly. "Michael needs to come downstairs." Kenny narrowed his eyes. "Downstairs for what?" He just finished performing. The man smiled, but it was a thin, cold expression that didn't reach his eyes. "There's a meeting with corporate," he said. "It's urgent." Michael's pulse jumped. Corporate. That word again. That shadow he couldn't escape. The manager's gaze flicked to Michael and lingered too long, as if he was confirming something, as if the meeting wasn't a request, but part of a plan already set in motion. Kenny stepped back, trying to block the man's view. Michael needs a moment. He's exhausted. The manager's smile vanished. I wasn't asking. The door closed sharply. Footsteps disappeared down the hall. Michael stared after them, numb. That's what I mean, he whispered. Every time I speak, someone reminds me who they think owns me. Kenny turned back toward him. So, don't go. Michael laughed once, bitter, quiet. You know better. If I don't go, it gets worse. There's always consequences. He looked at Kenny. Really looked. Promise me something. Kenny stepped closer. Anything. If anything happens. Michael paused, struggled with the words. You tell them the truth. You tell the world, I tried. I tried to speak. I tried to warn them. His voice broke at the edges. I won't let them erase me. Kenny nodded, throat tight with emotion. You have my word. Michael took one last look into the mirror, not to check his appearance, but to face the man the world never saw, the one who carried fear and faith at the same time, the one who refused to break even when pushed to the edge. He straightened his shoulders, wiped his tears, and walked toward the door. As he reached for the handle, he whispered one final plea, not to Kenny, not to the fans, but to the world. Please, believe me before it's too late. Then he stepped into the hallway, and the door closed behind him.